Good morning, hello.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Barefoot Living.
Barefoot Living Academy, Ulla and James here again. We're coming today to share with you some exciting, interesting things, which is the
Story we tell ourselves. Story we tell ourselves. We've been talking about this for quite a while. Before we kick off, though, today, just the usual warning that the story we tell ourselves is our crazy dog will be running around outside.
doing her own show in the background.
Doing her own show. We've had a few viewers give us some feedback already. Can we feature Tess some more? Can we introduce her a little bit more in these podcasts that we're doing? Well, maybe we will. But for the moment, she can run around outside.
Yes.
Okay, so the story we tell ourselves.
The stories we tell ourselves and how we affect our lives. So our mind, as we know, is very, very powerful, and it does all sorts of different tricks on us, good ones and the bad ones. And the good news is that we are the masters, and we can actually tell mind what we want it to do for us, rather than the mind just runs free and does whatever it wants and takes us all to places we don't want to go. Mind can override reality. Mind can tell us that certain things are happening that are not happening. And it can also take us away from the present moment, from living in the now, from being able to experience this moment as it exactly happens.
Yeah, that's right. And I can give you a perfect example because, I was, as you may know by now, watching these podcasts, I tell the story about my corporate career, something I was very proud of and something that I worked hard for. And I was the type of individual that would drive to work and, leave for the office early and spend all day in the office and work hard and come back in the evening. And the story I was telling myself was that this sort of romantic sacrifice of having to work was worth it. It was worth it to drive the income to pay for a house and a mortgage and so forth. But I was always motivated by the story that I was telling myself, the story that it was a romantic fight. And I never really took the time to step out and really make a true, honest assessment with my life outside of the story, that perhaps it was a positive thing, a much more positive thing that I was doing. And I could enjoy it with with bliss, rather than this sort of negative approach of romantic suffering that perhaps I spent a couple of decades with. That was the story I was telling myself.
And that was the reality you were living.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I wish I'd come across this earlier. This theory, this phrase of the story we tell ourselves, because I would have been able to frame my whole approach to work in a much more positive way. How about you? How about stories that you've told yourself, Ulla?
Yeah, so I've told myself also kind of stories. Some of them were that I can have joy and happiness and blissful experiences until something happens, right? Until something gets out of my way, until I get to a certain point, until someone goes out of my life. I told myself stories that I can't be happy unless these things happen. So I was putting conditions on reality, saying, you've got to change now. If you don't, I can't be happy. So I was suffering my own expectations of reality to be something that I want it to be rather than what it is. And therefore I can't be happy. And therefore I can't enjoy my life. And therefore I can't be full of energy and, jumping up and down with excitement.
Yeah.
And I can't experience a moment of bliss. I mean, I think one of the hardest things for me being a single mother for 10 years was that I was sacrificing a lot for my children, and it was almost like, I totally love and adore my children, but I was thinking that unless everything is perfect and they are happy and they behave, in a certain ways, and then the things are a certain way, then there's no way for me to be happy and enjoy my life. And sometimes I was waiting till, I don't know, sometimes we wait till kids go to school, so we can finally, breathe and do something, or till they get out of the house and suddenly we have a freedom, right? And unless everyone gets out of my way, and then I can be at peace. This is the stories that we tell ourselves. Not true.
Yeah. I've got another funny example, and I wonder if people can relate to this. And you know this for sure. That for years and years and years, the story I have told myself is that cyclists really get in my way when I'm driving around.
Drivers for me.
Drivers for you, yeah,
Yeah.
but cyclists for me. And I have told myself this story, and I've fallen into it without really challenging it for years and years. And what has happened is that every time I've come across a cyclist, and I suddenly feel these negative emotions, perhaps I become a little bit more agitated in the car, and I don't quite run them off the road, but maybe a little bit in the back of my mind wishes, perhaps they would pull over and let me pass. But I changed the story. I rewired my thinking just like that recently. And the story I'm telling myself every time I come across a cyclist is what a beautiful thing to be doing, getting outside, enjoying their free-flowing energy, enjoying themselves in this, in this amazing
the outdoors, the exercise,
Yeah,
the
that's it.
adventure,
Yeah.
rather than sitting at home on a sofa and just scrolling for Netflix.
Yeah, so I totally celebrate them, and it's made me into I think a more empathetic and calmer,
And kind.
humor and kinder, I suppose, human being. But it's a story. It's a story that we tell ourselves, and every story can be reframed. Whether it's a big story like the life career story that I had that I reframed, perhaps when it was too late, or whether it's something small and funny to do with
Yeah,
cyclists.
and don't we all know the sayings like, "Oh, my job would be so amazing and perfect if not the client," right? Or anything like that. Like my driving will be so amazing if not the other drivers, right, on the road. If only everyone could get out of my way and none don't exist, then that would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
So the stories we tell ourselves, the very, very important one is what do we say about our life? Like, my life is blah blah blah, which means then what happens is if I tell myself my life is hard, right, and I'm unfortunate, my circumstances, I was born in a place like this. I didn't have this, I didn't have that. I therefore I can't be happy, or I can't have things in my life, or I can't build a life out the way I wanted. I'm incapable. All sorts of things that we tell. First, what we tell about ourselves about our life. What's our life? But because when we say my life is hard, then mind and the trick that plays is like we as humans want to be right. So what we're going to do, we're going to find 100 proofs, and that's the truth. That's true, that we're right? Like, yeah, I'm right, my story is hard, look, let me tell you. And then you can probably list 100 reasons why your life is hard, right? Because that's the story you're telling yourself, and therefore that's when you will find the confirmations of your rightness.
Yeah.
However, if you tell ourselves my life is amazing, it's beautiful, it's a miracle, you will have a list of 100 things to confirm that you're right.
Yeah.
That's what happens, and the life it brings back to reflect our beliefs, it reflects our story.
I suppose it's a bit like, and we've all been there, when we are looking to buy a new car, we suddenly see that model of car everywhere on the road, and we've never really noticed it before, because that is the story we're telling ourselves.
That's what we're focusing on, right?
Yeah.
If I tell a story, my life is a hardship, I will focus on hardship. Therefore, I will only receive more and more hardship, right? Because that's the life says, okay, your life is hardship, then there you go, right? I believe it's incredibly powerful. The same when we believe about what we believe about ourselves. I'm amazing, I'm incredible, I can do anything. I'm super strong, I am powerful, I am super friendly and open, and I'm this and I'm that. And when we tell ourselves all these things, we live it. We literally live it. We live it as our truth because we believe it, and then life will reflect back our story and our rightness of the things, right? When we tell ourselves like, I'm unworthy, I'm incapable, I'm weak, I'm sick, I am lonely, I don't have any friends, people don't like me, I can't do any job properly. When we tell ourselves this story, we also live that reality. Right?
So this is the importance, I think, of positive affirmations as well, because positive affirmations, which I encourage everyone to do every morning, even if it's just 1 or 2 or 3 affirmations that you repeat to yourself, these are the stories we are telling ourselves now at the start of every day that will weave into our our mindset for that day, and it's an incredibly powerful tool.
Yes. Another belief, what do I believe about people? People are bad, people are, I don't know, crazy, people are not educated, people are
untrustworthy,
people are, always want to get your back, people are, you can trust them. If things we tell ourselves about people, we will attract this type of people, and we'll attract confirmation that that's the truth. And we will miss the whole person, because this person is also lots of other things, but we won't be able to see it. The person in front of us, we only be able to see the confirmation of our belief, right? So we completely block the other side of the person, which is good side. If we tell ourselves people are amazing, look what they creating, look what they're producing, look how they helping each other, how incredibly loving they are, how they always try the best, it's like how they continuously grow. And when we tell this kind of things about people, everyone comes into our presence, is we will reflect that, will reflect that as well, yeah. Right? I'll give it to you because I have something I want to say, but I want to build it first properly.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the story we tell ourselves as well is also an incredibly powerful phrase to use out loud when we're in perhaps an uncomfortable situation, when we're in maybe even a confrontational situation, because sometimes your mind reacts before you have a chance to truly assess a situation. And if I see, for example, if I see Ulla totally ignoring me, which occasionally happens, then the story I tell myself could be quite negative. My mind will immediately say, she's disconnected from me, something must have happened, what have I done wrong? And I need to think about this with the story I'm telling myself. And then I also need to use the phrase, the story I'm telling myself. And here is how. Before I knew the phrase, if this example happened, I hope you don't mind me using it, I would probably come to you and I would say, why are you disconnected from me? What have I done now? Or something that could be quite confrontational to
would take it personally
situation.
And made a story about you.
Yeah, I would. But if you actually use the phrase, the story I am telling myself, then it would probably sound like this. Hey, Ulla, the story I am telling myself is that you are disconnecting from me. Can you let me know perhaps what is happening? So you can see how I've diffused this confrontational situation by using the phrase, the story I am telling myself. I'm almost treating the story I am telling myself as a third party over here. And so we can talk about this rather than have it as a direct confrontation.
Yeah, I want to go even further and deeper into this, because you said the story I'm telling myself that you're disconnecting with me, but really, if you have negative feelings about me disconnecting from you, it will be something like, the story I'm telling myself is like, I've done something, I upset you, obviously not worthy, or I am not the person you want to be with, or you want to have in front of you. And you can go even further. So if you're really, really, truly, deeply, authentically honest with yourself, every time we have got these negative emotions, it is because the story we're telling ourselves. And the story I'm telling myself is, I'm probably not good enough for you, right? That will be the true story I'm telling myself. And therefore, your disconnection from me makes me feel uncomfortable, and then I go into my world of story. But if you come and say, hey, the story I'm telling myself, and you're really, really honest, I'll come to you and say, that's so not true. Like, I'm disconnected now because now I'm in my story of running through something that I need to solve, probably, or I'm thinking about my children at school, or something, and then I can be disconnected because I am busy within my own stories probably a lot of the time. But the disconnection happens is oftentimes when mind takes us into the storyland, and we're not present with what's happening around us, with people around us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the action here, the learning, is to, whenever you default and knee-jerk into a story as a reaction to a particular event, just pause and take a little moment to think about this. Is this a story you are telling yourself? Is it true? And if you do want to take it further, I mean, if it's a work situation or a home situation or a relational situation, you can use that phrase, the story I am telling myself is this? Is it true? And it's a really powerful tool of diffusion that that you can use.
Yes. So I have discovered that joy and bliss is our natural state of being, and if we're not experiencing joyful and some meaningful, nice emotions, that means we have created a negative story about what's happening to us and around us, right? So it always, like, I do believe, like I said before, I believe that this means no joy, on this means joy, right? But really, truly, fully is like I can be joyful in a situation if situations happen around me, and people acting not the way I would like them to, or they say not the things I would like them to. I still can be totally joyful, not affected by what's happening around me, right? Because I'm like, I am good. I am good with it, with me. I'm having the energy flowing, and I'm experiencing a good positive emotion. If someone does something, I can actually respond to them from the place of, hey, it's like, have you thought about this way? Or I can be more responsive in a way that really helps them and bring more peace and more joy between us, or for that person, than if I was then running into my own story.
So you're disassociating yourself from your story that you're telling yourself about a situation, and you're returning.
So I don't create stories, right? When situations happen randomly, like let's say children are playing out and they're doing certain things, or a dog is going crazy in the background, right? So it's like we don't start creating all that. Like, this is the perfect situation. Oh no, that dog is running. What are people going to think about it? That we've got a totally crazy dog, and and we can start feeling really uncomfortable about it. But if you're joyful, and if you're really, really good in you will not create the stories. You will turn it into some joke, for example, for something positive, right? Or you deal with it. I can say, oh, excuse me, I'm just going to go and walk the dog and let you speak at the time. So basically, if we create stories which are negative, they'll affect the reality and affect the way we can respond and react in life, right? They will affect our own mood, and they will bring the more negative and things that we don't actually want in our life. So the big question is, ask myself, what do I believe about my life? What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about people? What do I believe in my body? That's a beautiful one. Like, what do I actually think and believe in my body? Do I like my body? Do I love my body? Do I think it's an incredible miracle? Do I think it's so incredibly powerful and so intelligent, and it can fix itself and heal itself, and it can regrow things, and it's constantly doing these things that I don't have any control of, and it's keeping me going, and it makes this life possible, and it makes me want to go and do incredible things in life, right? If we have that kind of belief about our body, we will then act accordingly, right? That's the important thing as well. Whatever you believe, you act accordingly. If I believe that my body is rubbish, I don't like it, and I wish I had someone else's body, you will act accordingly. You will treat the body like this. You will treat it like rubbish, right? If I believe about my life is hardship, nothing works for me, you will act accordingly. You will create a situation that will bring more of that into your life. If you believe people are not nice and horrible and negative things, you will act accordingly in front of these people. Therefore, you get that side from them out towards you, right? If you believe your job is not good, right, then you will turn up at that workplace and act accordingly. This is the important thing. Every belief makes us act accordingly to the belief, and then recreate even more of these things, patterns. It's very important to change our beliefs into positive, because they're also super true, right? Like, life is amazing. It's a miracle. It's beautiful. Look at there. Like, it's just stunning, right? And it's an opportunity to create even more beauty. Like, people are amazing. Like, they're doing amazing things all over the world all the time. And I see this. I get these videos and things from people all the time, because I do believe that, right? I believe my body is incredible. Therefore, I can do even more with this body. And so, right?
Yeah, and I suppose there's quite a big overlap here with the law of attraction, which obviously is worth a whole other podcast. So I'm sure we'll cover that in another topic. But yeah, absolutely. So the story we tell ourselves, we've got some really important actions here, just to have an assessment, have a bit of inquiry yourselves on, what stories do you tell yourselves? Check within. make an assessment, maybe even write them down. I've done this myself. What are the big stories that I have been telling myself? And then just take a second to think, are these stories actually true, or are they just stories? And then perhaps, with compassion, even talk to someone about it, or just think about it yourself and see if you can turn these stories, if they are negative, into positive stories, and stories of bliss, and stories of that natural state that we are born in.
Really become aware of what stories you're telling yourself. Every time you feel something negative, do ask yourself the question, what story am I telling myself now? What? And you will see all these thoughts and beliefs and the stories coming out one after another, and you'll be able to change them. The moment you see you saying the stories like, no, I unsubscribed from this narrative. I tell my mind now that I subscribe to different narrative, and tell your mind what narrative you're choosing instead. Because your mind automatically, it's like you're being subscribed into the channel. You subscribe into the channel and you watch the same program. And guess what? It makes you feel, right? It makes you feel scared. It makes you feel pain. It makes you feel suffering. But no, I'm going to watch it every day anyway, no matter what, right?
A bit like watching the news, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like you turn on the news and you realize that they are made for people to be afraid, right, of life and of the world and what's happening. And they are made this way so the people sit in the same way of being, which is far from bliss, basically, right? So you can turn off the television, but if you subscribe to your mind channels and constantly repeating the same stories, which are making you feel, well, then no, just tell your mind, I unsubscribed. Right now, I am subscribed from this channel. I unsubscribed from this narrative. Now I am subscribing to this narrative, and tell different story. Write it down and tell your mind, this is the story now I'm subscribing to. This is the channel. This is the narrative I'm subscribing to. And when you do that, even a little exercise of do it on a paper, or close your eyes, imagine one television with one channel, another television with another channel, and choose which one you want to watch, right? Choose which one you want it to be your reality. And then tell your mind, your mind says, oh, okay, I see. And then you catch yourself so quickly when you go back to this one, right? You catch yourself so quickly, like, no, not this one. And it really helps. It's like neuro-linguistic programming. You can literally switch you switch your reality, because suddenly you start seeing and attracting and creating all that new ways of being.
Yeah, very good. I think that's what we have for you today on the stories we tell ourselves. So we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. But please, before you go, don't forget to hit subscribe. We'll be coming to you again very soon.
We've got a lot of amazing exercises like this that you can use and improve your life. So yeah, Barefoot Living Academy on YouTube. BarefootLiving.online is our website. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. You can find us all there. And creating a beautiful courses for you. So stay tuned.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.